I'm
I'm
actually
second.
really proud of myself that I didn't just go and blurt out and be like, "Hi, TJ," like I did in the last one, which was actually with TJ, and then I bawled out your name just automatically. Yeah, so welcome. Thank you for joining me, and welcome back, everybody, to another live stream of Therapy and Tarot. I have with me Michelle, who is, of course, if you remember Michelle, we did our video earlier. This, well, maybe a few weeks ago or so, maybe even about a month ago now, because time really flies. And of course, Michelle of the Mindful Wildflower. So welcome and thank you for joining me today as we are looking to talk about surviving the winter emotions, and of course, um, with the holidays, with Christmas. This is the holiday season. We have Christmas coming up, and that can be tough for anyone to have to deal with, emotionally speaking, for many many reasons. Um, you know, the time of year, given also when you're dealing with, especially you and I, with big emotions, and we're around family or friends that maybe don't get us, that can also be very daunting in and of itself for the nervous system. Um, so yeah, so that's pretty much why I kind of wanted to hit this topic, and thank you very much for joining me with this, because I feel like what you've created is so fitting for right now, and for so many people, not only just you know generally speaking, in the fact that it's we're in a global mental health crisis and things like that, but also because this is the season, this time of year where, as the leaves have fallen, it's cold, it's dark, right? People tend to be a little bit more emotional than normal. And when you're a big feeler like we are, that could even be more challenging. So that was part of why I figured something like this today would be a great idea, and also to get people to know more about you a little bit, and also what you have going on, what you have to offer, and how that has been beneficial, for you, for me, for those who've already invested in their time and their money into what you have created, but also what are some of the extra things that you are have going on with, and your plans for DBT, for the Mindful Wildflower, yeah, and then even just using what everything that you have today to really give people an idea on what it's like to use the Mindful Wildflower and actually benefit from it. So I'll let you take the lead on that one,
Yeah.
and share with us. And yeah, and please tell me, of course, what has the winter season for you been like? What is that like for you, and how do you handle that?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be back with you and chatting. It's always so enlightening to chat with you. And just, yeah, I love getting to share our ideas together. So thank you. It's wonderful to be back. But yeah, the winter is such a tough time for me, especially. It's a lot of anniversaries for me that are really struggling, or that are really just hard to get through. So I went through an abusive marriage, and my wedding anniversary is in the winter season. My the anniversary of when we separated and divorced was the winter season, and then just the winter being a cold and dark season to begin with, it is just a very challenging time. So I find a lot of those emotions kind of come back up. As you mentioned, being around family can add extra pressures of just trying to be okay for family, just trying to, um, yeah, be as good as where my siblings are at, and yeah, there's just a lot of extra pressure around the holidays, and so um, I think the Mindful Wildflower actually was born out of this season as well. So it was last November that the Mindful Wildflower came to fruition, and that came out of this dark season. So I think there's lots of light that can be brought out of the winter, and there's lots that we can do. So yeah, I think there are some resources, mine included, that can be really helpful to really work through um, just a harder season. And I think the first thing is just being honest that it is a harder season, and that you're allowed to move slower. You're allowed to work through your emotions slower. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to have these tough days. And that's just the reality. And I think when we can accept that, then we can also accept the help and the support, and some of the things that we can do to help ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that are just popping in and joining in chat, thank you for being here. I think we had one person who speaks Spanish, but Gatsumi, thank you for joining us. Um, yeah, and but even I feel like even when we can be honest with ourselves about what is going on internally, and we can speak openly about these things, it makes it easier for us to be able to understand each other and have that compassion, that and understanding that you know we're human. That's part of the human conditioning, is to have feelings. And so what happens when we either suppress them, we dismiss them, and not just dismissing our own, but even doing that to other people, and how that can be, that can make um dealing with everything that we may have going on personally that much more difficult to get through.
Mhm.
So yeah, so this is why I feel like it is so fantastic to be able to have this conversation with you and to talk about these things. And thank you for using all of those experiences, because many of us that have our experiences, we have more than we have many different choices what to do with it, right? um some of us turn dark, right? And we go inward and become this survival bot, if you will, like lack of a better sort of terminology. um and hey, thank you for joining us, guys. And yeah, and but you did something different. You didn't retreat. You didn't let that break you or turn you into this evil zombie, if you will. You channeled all of that pain, all of that um hardship, and made something beautiful out of it. You made a flower. You made a wildflower. That's what you did. So yeah, so I thank you. And that I'm sure wasn't something that was easy. And I mean, if you care to share more about that and what that experience is hello from New Brunswick. Thank you for joining us. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't easy. And there were days where I did retreat and did kind of go into the darkness, and as you said, and just kind of hid in bed. There were days where I wasn't able to get myself out of bed, and there was that struggle of, is life worth living? And that is a reality even today. I had a hard time getting out of bed and was crying on the floor earlier today. And so there are still days that are very challenging, and life is not always easy. But I think the Mindful Wildflower has given me something to keep pushing towards and to keep um, a reason to keep moving forward. And I see the hurt in the world and the other people that are just dealing with really big emotions and struggling with similar things as me. And I see an opportunity to be able to share what's helped me with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I really love that. And I feel like that's, like that's where we relate, because it's the same thing. Like what I did, why this channel was born, was because, I again felt the coldness in the world on a collective level. And even as we talk about this time of year and the seasons, I mean, there's so many things about mental health. There's so many things and so many different aspects, mental illness, that and ways in which that we use to cope, right? um, some people numb out, right? There's things like addiction, and that's what I was talking about in regards to, when we retreat, or the choices that we make. Either we take what the pain and we turn it into something beautiful and beneficial for others, and we learn from it, or we spiral. And sometimes we end up doing both, right? It depends on what it is that, where we're at in our lives, as individuals, and what we're dealing with. um but yeah, also what I wanted to say was that there's also, the idea, like, we have various different diagnoses, but then there's also something called SAD, right? Which is an acronym actually for seasonal affective disorder. And and the fact that for a lot of people is something that um, can be very challenging, because it's something that is, it's a depressive state that cycles based on the season, and often usually happens around the fall and winter. So anyone who has ever suffered from SAD or continuously suffers from SAD, it's not something you really escape. It's something that just naturally falls in, and then you have to reorganize yourself. You have to figure out a way to manage all of that.
Mhm.
And you have through the Mindful Wildflower, have created several different um, avenues in which to tackle these aspects. And so I kind of want to let you talk more about it, and even in regards to what you have going on more recently that you've started, and what are your plans for the Mindful Wildflower, and where do you see things elevating from here, if you will?
Yeah, so a big thing that we've started is the guided journaling. So we've done a couple of them so far, and that's something that I want to continue doing because I think they have been really impactful for the people that have been able to make it to those. And what that is just a session. It's about an hour long, and we go through and just journal together. So we have the prompts, and we talk about the prompts a little bit, and then we'll do some journaling on our own privately, and then we'll come back and discuss it. And usually, the discussion is what really brings those sessions to life. And people are able to share kind of where they're at, what they're going through, what they learned from journaling, from themselves, from someone else. And then we do that a couple of times with a couple different prompts, and then we always end with affirmations. So it's a really just nice, positive time to reflect and work on your own goals. Some are a little bit more intense in what you're looking at and just the the prompts can dig a little bit deeper and can kind of trigger some things. Other ones are a little bit more light, and the conversation is a little bit more surface level. So there's a mix of both that we're working on. So that's through my Patreon account. You can sign up for those either monthly or weekly. And then there's also other tools on Patreon that I'm uploading different PDFs of different worksheets. And every week I do journal prompts and affirmations on there for the two top tiers. So, yeah, there's lots with the Patreon going on. And then yeah, just a lot on the Instagram as well. We've got plans for the new year to do a new live series. So that will be coming up as well. And then
Yay!
yeah. And then just different posts and stuff throughout the year that I'll be posting both in my stories and reels and posts just to keep the skills relevant and keep people posting or keep people thinking about the skills.
Awesome. And so, on average, what is, because I'll have everything linked down below, but just so people have an idea, um, for your Patreon, what are the tiers, and what are the costs? Because I know, especially given where we're all at, I mean, you have to still, be mindful of your own worth, but also still trying to make it accessible for everybody. So if you want to share what that is.
Yeah, so there's 4 tiers. The first tier is just that you get the all the PDFs and journal affirmations, and different sneak previews of things, and that one is $5 a month. Then there's $10 a month, and that will get you a monthly journaling session as well as everything in the $5 a month. Then there's, I think it's $20 a month. It will give you I think it's $20 a month. Will give you, um, month or weekly journaling, and then $25 a month will give you weekly journaling as well as a one-on-one session with me, peer-led session. So yeah, those are the 4 sessions, and that's $25 a month. So from 5 to $25. So there's a price range that you can pick what works for you.
Awesome. And I don't think I've put your Patreon linked in the description box. But I will update it and make sure that all of that is in there. Um and what else is new on your site that we have going on since the last time that we chatted?
Well, there's some tote bags. And then what else did we add? There's a calendar that's new since we last chatted. So this is the weekly calendar. So each week has an affirmation and a skill. So I'm really excited about this one because we'll be doing it all together. Everyone will be on the same week. And so everyone who has the calendar will be working on the same skill with the same affirmation. So I'll be doing updates on Instagram with how I'm using the skill, what the affirmation looked like for me that week, and how I was able to apply it. So I'm really excited to hear stories from other people, hear how everyone else is using the skills, how it's impacting them. But this is available on the website or on the Mindful Wildflower website now for $15.
Awesome. And of course, yes, mine is has been in it's in the mail today.
Yours is
I'll
in the
be
mail
getting
today.
I will be getting that along with the tote bag. So that's exciting. Um yeah, so a little happy dance that's going on inside there. Yeah. We have a question, and do you think a genuine friendship between a man and a woman can exist? Absolutely. I've had many friends that have been males in my past that have been platonic. And I don't know about Michelle, but I know for me that's been something. So I would say absolutely, absolutely, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Um, oh, sorry.
I said I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, it really just matters where you're at in your life and where the other person's at, and whether that's something that you guys can make work. So absolutely. um the other thing that I wanted to get you to do with the mindful wildflower is because, well, not because, in alignment with, of course, it being therapy and tarot series, and just about, how I have found divination to be very useful with combining therapy practices and things like that. um I wanted to show and have us see exactly the mindful wildflower in action. So, so let's get you to start with pulling a card from us, from whatever deck that you feel called to pull from, because of course the mindful wildflower, there's in the set, which looks like this, we actually have four that comes individually packed, um that comes in the actual set. So which I think is really cool. We have and of course, if you haven't seen the extensive walkthrough and interview that I already did with Michelle, you're welcome to take a look at that. But we have distress tolerance and interpersonal effectiveness, we have the affirmations that you were talking about, we have mindfulness, and then we have emotional regulation. So yeah. So let's let Michelle pick from whatever pack deck that she feels called to do, and then we will build a collective reading from there.
Yeah, so I have here the emotion regulation deck, and I'm going to pull a card from there. So we have accumulate positives in the short term. The purpose of this skill is to intentionally add small, enjoyable experiences to daily life. So pick a pleasant activity, do it mindfully, do it regularly, daily if you can, and choose both fun and meaningful options. And then in this deck, there's also a list of options of things that you can do for short term, different things that you can do in the short term that are positive. So they look like this. They say short term positive idea list, and then there's different categories. So this one is the connection and social category. So some of the ideas that you can bring out are texting someone you care about, sending a meme or a compliment, writing a thank you or a love note, call or video chat with a friend, plan a hangout, cook with someone, make a friendship bracelet for someone. So just a few ideas of how to connect with someone. There's other categories as well. There's mastery and meaning, there's quiet and reflective, there's active and energizing, soothing and sensory, planning and possibility, spiritual and mindful, and creative and expressive. So you can choose from any of those categories and choose some items on those lists that seem positive to you, that seem like they would bring some happiness or some joy into your life. And sometimes we do just have to be intentional about bringing in that positive. It's a gray, rainy day here. And I could go through the day without smiling if I'm not intentional to bring something positive into my life. So that's what this accumulating short term positives is, just about making yourself smile, about making yourself have fun, making those moments happen in your life.
Okay, that's awesome. And then how would you collaborate that with the journal?
Yeah. So yeah, there is a perfect page for that at the end of the week. So each week has these these daily diary cards. And then if you go to the end of the week, there's a page that says all the good. And this one you can see is already started to be filled out by some of the good things that I had happening. But this is the spot to write all of the positive things that are happening. And the purpose of this is that a lot of the time we let those good moments pass us by and we quickly forget about them. But the point is to write them down and remember and cherish them and remind ourselves that even though it's a gray season and it's cold and it's dark and it might be December and we still have a long road ahead of us of the darkness, but there are good things happening and we can look at our journals and remember those good things that are happening. So it's a spot, it says all the good, and it's a place to write just all of those good things that you're making happen in your life.
Awesome. So on that, as you pulled that today, and you were talking about all the good things, it brought me to a deck actually that had just recently pulled out into rotation. And this one is a deck I think that you would even enjoy. That I feel like would work very well collaboratively with both your journal and the um the decks, because it's not just one, but it looks like one. So I had to say the decks. But the deck that I was thinking I feel like would go really well, and even as you talk about you know really taking note of all the good things and um making it a point um to plan out good activities for your day, and even to be able to take note of what those are. And this is the self-care package deck. It's a deck to nourish your mind, body, and spirit. I have a few different decks that are similar, but this one actually comes looking like a package, right? And how wonderful for this time of year, because we're all about, right? It's the season of giving. Speaking of giving, which I just realized, we didn't talk about the discount code that we have for the Mindful Wildflower. Of course, so in the description box, if you're interested in picking up the Big Feelers Care Package, which includes a candle, some stickers, you get the journal, and you get the pack of decks. Is there anything else that I'm missing that comes in the Big Feelers?
And a magnet.
And a magnet, right? Oh yeah, and the fridge magnet, yes, which mine is on my fridge right now. That's why I forgot about it. So, yes. And of course, the calendar is available. So this is a discount code that you can use for to purchase anything on her website, and it is three, as in the number three, um, degrees loves MW10. So of course that's in the description box, so you can definitely check that out. And it's for a surprise discount. So before be sure to take advantage if you know anybody who could really use these products, especially for the holiday season. Be sure to check that out. Anyway, so while we had Michelle who picked that out, the card there, and that was about, read the card again for me, please.
Where did this go? The purpose of this skill is to intentionally add small, enjoyable experiences to daily life. Pick a pleasant activity, do it mindfully, do it regularly, and choose both fun and meaningful options.
Okay. So this is pretty much what this deck is mainly about. So I'm going to pull for the collective today. What is something that the collective, all of us, can be mindful of and make it a point to do for ourselves. All right. Let's see what we got. And I will say that um, even for you, Michelle, the, oh, okay. Um, as this comes out, this is something that I think that would be wonderful for you for us to even journal about. And I feel like gonna have to pull more cards for this one because this is really cool. So the card that came out is a few wise words. So what I want you to think about now, and even journal about, for those of you that have a journal and want to follow along, and even Michelle, using your mindful wildflower journal, a few wise words. What are a few wise words that you can offer to yourself today that will help boost and help regulate your emotions? Because even earlier, as you spoke about, and you were very open about, and what, what today was like for you, and what, and how managing those emotions can be very difficult. So what I want to know for you is, what is a few wise words that you can offer yourself today to bring you out of that funk that you were in?
I'm looking at my calendar because it's pulling this word out. It's at a random page because I was flipping through it, but I'm looking and it says I can hold more than one truth at once. And I feel like those are my wise words. Because as much as I can have a bad day and I can have um, a bad week or a bad month or whatever, um, it's not all bad. And I think that's what I need to remind myself when I'm in those moments, because when I am in those moments, it feels like everything is bad. It feels like nothing can be good, and there's no way out of it. But if I remember that I can feel sad and happy at the same time, and I can feel uh, excited about the future at the same time, and I can feel passionate about the mindful wildflower at the same time, then my grief or my sadness isn't all consuming, or my fear isn't all consuming. It's now there are other things that I'm feeling as well.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that goes, that goes for all of us, because I feel like it's something that I myself realize that I struggle with too, is exactly that, is um feeling like, okay, so for example, earlier this week, getting some news about my dad, and the fact that he's had to move rooms in the long-term care home that he's in. um he's there with Alzheimer's and dementia, and can no longer, function and take care of himself. Um and him being someone who is vulnerable, and cannot defend himself, he was moved because of another resident who was not being nice towards him. But the thing is, one of the things that I had to remember is, I can't get angry because the person that is is being the way that they are with him is also a person who's not of sound mind. So, right, so it's remembering, yes, my dad may not be, they've had to look out for his safety, and so in doing that, they've had to move him to another room. But, and I think that's also the thing about understanding emotion, having emotional intelligence, is that you can never really be completely mad or upset with someone when you have emotional intelligence, because you can understand that there is a reason why they are the way they are. There is a
Mhm.
reason, or more than one reason, why they're acting the way that they are, right? And especially if whether it be a stranger or whether it be somebody you know, um, especially if they're acting out of character or what seems like out of character, which technically nowadays, aren't we all acting sort of out of character in one way or another? Because life has a way, trauma has a way of doing that to us, right? And but again, when you have the regulation, when you have the tools, when you've sought the help, and you are actively doing the healing work, right? And you're raising your frequency and your vibration, you're less likely to have friction with other people, because you're not going out there on guard, like, I'm ready to like fight, right? Um, or even, you know, being completely closed off. I hear a lot of the time about, especially this time of the year, as it gets darker, we isolate. Isolation is a very big thing that happens in and around this time. And and especially if you're already dealing with a lot of emotional, thank you very much. As long as you and welcome. I'm glad that you're enjoying the conversation. But yeah, and you, now that just threw me completely off of what I was saying. But help me out, Michelle. What was I saying? Because all of a sudden I just
You
lost
lost me too.
I just got distracted by someone that were like, "Yeah, great conversation." So I was like, "Yeah, great, yes, isolation." Thank you very much. I
Oh,
was
yes,
talking about
isolation.
isolation. Yes, chat. Thank you so much for reminding me where I was. So yeah, the idea of isolating ourselves and being closed off, and we think, well, because you know we don't want to deal with the world, and my peace is so important, so therefore I'm staying as a recluse. But is it really is that really peace, or is that fear that's driving you to stay stuck, right?
Mhm.
That you Because you're afraid of intimacy, because the last time that you opened your heart to somebody, or you allowed someone into your emotional space, they either took advantage, they used it against you, they turned it into a weakness, um, right? Or exploited you, or whatever the case may be. So we don't we automatically default to isolation and shut down, rather than working through that, and and opening ourselves up again. It's like
Mhm.
it's almost like we're carrying the season with us internally. So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter now. And then it becomes where it doesn't matter the season now. We're all walking around with this eternal winter inside of ourselves. Right.
Yeah.
And then so now when we're out in the world around other people, we're just a bunch of winters walking around and interacting. And that makes for a very, very, very cold world, even
Yeah.
in the heart of summer, even.
Mhm.
So this is again why this is the time to really, really lean on these tools, and do these introspective activities and things like that. It doesn't always have to be doomsday. I mean, yes, we, like, right now we are talking about things that you know can be triggering. The topic alone, but if we don't talk about it, how do we heal,
Mhm.
right? How do we know what's going on, so we know how to heal it?
Yeah. And that everyone else go to is to isolate as well, because I think when we call that out and we say everyone wants to isolate, it feels a lot less lonely, and then it feels like, "Oh, okay, if everyone else is doing it, like, why don't we band together then?" If we're all thinking we're too much, we're all thinking that we just wanna hide and we just wanna not be seen, or we just wanna not deal with the pain. If we're all doing that, doesn't it make sense to do that together? And I think it just sheds a lot of light on, yeah, not being alone in that isolation.
Yeah, I would say so, but I also feel like it's a double-edged sword, because then you have people who break off into to cliques, and you have trauma bonding and
Mhm.
things like that. And when you're not careful, those things just become even more detrimental, because you're not actually healing,
Yeah.
you're soothing a wound. You're not actually healing it. You're like, oh, okay, so it's like, okay, Michelle, you and I are, I mean, we're not, but I mean, you and I have the same, the same struggles. We're both bipolar, for example, and we both have this exact same sort of understanding on what that's like, and how that affects us. But then what happens when we don't, we isolate, and we connect with one another, but we don't do the healing work, then we're just in our own bipolar
Yeah.
bubble together, and then the rest of the world is like, huh, what's happening, right? Or we're against the world, because, and that's not what we want. We want to be able to bring back exclusivity amongst us all. Like, that's that's the hope, that's what we're doing for the collective, right? We're not breaking off and then finding ourselves in these tiny little cliques that someone else who may not um understand what you're going through, but is still a human being just the same,
Yeah.
still has feelings just the same, and where we are not connecting because, oh, well, that person doesn't get it, so therefore I can't talk to them, or there's no connection. But there is the connection. Being a human being on this planet is the connection,
Yeah.
regardless of what journey you are, what path you are on, what trials and tribulations you've been through, right? We all
Mhm.
are deserving of the same love, the same honor, the same respect. And so when you are doing the healing work and you bring yourself back into alignment with that understanding, then it's less lonely. There's less need to have to isolate or retreat, or
Yeah.
because you feel safe to be seen.
Yeah.
So and isn't that what ultimately we all want, is to be seen and loved and cherished for exactly who we are?
Yeah. And understood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, and I think that and that's beautiful. We both have big feelings, but we're not the same. We don't have the same diagnosis. We don't have the same journeys as well. Do some of our experiences mirror each other? Sure. But because we're different people, how we've navigated those circumstances are not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
How we've experienced those, or how that the impact that it's left on each of us, isn't going to be the same. And it's having that recognition and that understanding of that too, and that mindfulness. And this is what it's all about. So I want to thank you so very much, Michelle, for joining me for this discussion, for pulling cards and aspiring me to keep growing and keep building, every time I see you making progress, it gives me hope. It gives me inspiration. And I just love everything about you and what you're doing and how you're building and growing. And I look forward to more times that we can collaborate together and talk about mental health and be supportive of each other and the world around us, because we're on every one of us on some level is struggling in some sort of fashion. And it doesn't help to isolate. It doesn't help to shut the world out. Um, and it just makes for a crappier place for all of us to live, doesn't it?
Sure does.
And especially, you know, where the world is at now and what we've collectively survived, for those that have survived it, um, and those are still pushing along and still trying and showing up every day. That's all we can really ask for.
Yeah.
So, of ourselves and one another. So, as I always say, I am love. So are you, Michelle. So is everyone, um, in this world. We are meant to be loving beings. We are also human and we are severely flawed in many, many ways. And so that is something that isn't always going to be perfection. That's not always going to be, something that is easily strivable, but you make the choice every day and show up in love, right? And that's really all you can do. So on that note, I hope that you will remember to take care of yourself and one another. And while you're at it, guys, please don't forget about us too. Don't forget that you can check out Michelle, and all of that she has to offer with the Mindful Wildflower. Her links will be in the description box for you. Don't forget that you do have a discount code that you can use, and it's also in the description box too. And I want to thank Michelle so very much for being a part of this journey, for being you and doing what you do so beautifully. And I look forward to everything that you have coming forth, um, in the new year, even, tomorrow, even wherever your little heart takes you. Um, I'm here for it, and I want to thank you so much. So, please do all the things, like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below, and of course, if you want to reach out to me, if you have any further questions and in regards to, or want to possibly collaborate because you have something that you are passionate about, it is geared towards helping others and uplifting the masses and promoting mental wellness. um, Please, by all means, reach out. And until we chat again, please be sure to check your privilege, mind your magic, and as always, live, listen, and learn. I love you all so very, very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. And I will catch you on the other side. And I look forward to all the other times that we get to collaborate together. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.